Hey y'all, welcome back to the internet. This is Avery, and today we're going to talk about how we take the object that we made in Blender, we render it out, and we take that rendering and we composite it in Illustrator as a still image, or if we're rendering out an animation, how we take that sequence of images and we composite it in Photoshop and export it as an animated GIF. So let's look at a couple different ways to render things out, or different versions of rendering our image out. So one is with a backdrop, right? We want this whole thing to be an image, no transparency involved, as in nothing will be behind it. So in order to do that, it's, for this project, or for this tutorial, 1080 by 1080 it would be the settings, and that would be here in the output properties. And yes, we have a folder where we can push this, but when you render something, just a single image, and it's rendering, and it's rendering, and it's rendering, you need to make sure that after it's done rendering, you hit save. That's really important, okay? So let's call this image-1. So it is now a saved image that we can access later, and later being now. So here we are in Illustrator. We want a 1080 pixel by 1080 pixel document, RGB color, which is the same color mode that we had in Blender, and the screen raster effects will be 72 ppi. Cool. So we create it. It's coming. And now to get that image that we just rendered into Illustrator, it's File, Place. Find it, image 1, that's how we saved it. Place, and then it'll be like tagging along with your cursor. Cool, hey, come back here, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then you click to place, and then, because this is the exact same size as our artboard, all we need to do is center it. So come here to your properties, align it vertically, align it horizontally, it's set. And then we can do stuff on top of this. In order to do that, I think I'd just like to lock it so I don't mess with it. I'll add a new layer and then say hit T for text. I can add in whatever text. I want this to be roboto, you get it. We'll have it black. I'll quickly just jack this up to 350, and then these are words. And this is how you can do this type of quick compositing of text and image in an Illustrator. Cool. Let's talk about doing some transparency and how you might do that. So back to, in order to essentially have that text be behind your image. So what you want to do in your outliner right here, look for this little icon. Can you see it? I don't even, it looks like it's a funnel or some sort. If you click on it, come here and click the icon that looks like a camera. Zoom in on your screen. You can find it right here. Click it, make it blue. And essentially, this is what you need to disable the visibility of something during a render. So I can make my backdrop disappear in the viewport right here, but when I try and render it, it'll still be visible. So I need to also click the camera icon. So now the backdrop's totally invisible to my renderer. Okay, but I also have this that was my backdrop. And I also have this background that's visible. And how we get rid of that is you click here, which is Render Properties. You scroll down till you see Film. Drop that jam down. Scroll till you see Transparent. Click Transparent. Now it's transparent. We go to Render. We go to Render Image. It's happening. We have an RGBA. So PNG, so there's an alpha channel. We go to image, we're going to save it. I'm going to save this as image 2 for the purposes of this tutorial. Save as, and then we can pop back over to Illustrator, and I can make this, well, let me just add the image on top of this one. We'll see what happens. So File, place the image. Here's image 2, place, and place it in there, and then center. Oh! Interesting. We see what happened there, right? So now my words are behind my object, but I still have my backdrop. Anyway, you get it. So that is something that you can do in yours. Cool. All right, let's talk about how we do an animation. So as a reminder, animating things. I set mine to 48 frames. You can do that right here. 48 is, if at 24 frames per second, is 2 seconds. So that'd be kind of a quick rotation, but let's do it. Let's let that happen. You can also change that, and I think in output properties, yes. So it will change here. You can change that, and here in output properties, the icon that looks like a printer in a way, you can change the frames per second and 24. We just want to know what that is, but by default it'll be 24. We also, when we're rendering an image sequence, a bunch of different frames from our animation, this is where we definitely want to make sure we have our folder all in order. So I'm going to just do this really quickly. Image, test, and then, so make your folder, right? You can click new folder right here. Then you need to make sure you, oh geez Louise. Then you just click so you're inside your folder, and then you want to just have this be a name like image test, and what I like to do is do an underscore at the end because it will add 001, 002, 003. You get it with all the file names. So I do an underscore. I think you could probably do a period too, but I like underscore. All right. So now we know where it's being saved. Now we can do our animation. So we're just going to rotate this along the Z axis. Does anyone remember how to do that? Yes. No, whatever. There's no one to answer. And we're just rotating this object. I'm going to leave that background transparent for this example, but you know how to add your background or your backdrop back in. So if we have our object selected and then we're in this area, we can hit I for added a keyframe, I on your keyboard, and then we're just going to mess with rotation. So now this turns yellow, which means it's like, hey, I see that you did a keyframe. We also have a keyframe right here in our timeline. Then I'm going to go not to 48, which is the last one, but 49, because we're rotating 360 degrees, and I don't want there to be essentially like a little pause where there's a double frame, if you make what sense, because 1 and 48 will be the same. If I set it to 360, they'll be the frame will be the same image. Does that make sense? I hope so. So right now, this may happen to you if you rotate something around. So I'm going to come back to 49. So let's say you rotate your object around for your camera, and you're like, oh wait, it's 379. I need to go from 0 to 360. We can still do that. So, and look, it's not even 379. It's 379.885 degrees. We can just click in there, hit plus 360, and it will do the math for us. And then, so this is in this item folder, which remember, if you pop it out with in is how you pop that out, or if you click right here, that little boop, boop, it'll pop it out. So in. And then you hit I, and then you hit rotation. So now I'm going to do, just click play, and you'll see what happens. Cool. And then that's like how you spin the shape earlier in the semester. But one last thing I'll say, if you just want a smooth rotation that just smooth, right? It doesn't have that little pause. You can kind of see, let me maybe see it better here. See this sort of like it slows, and it's accelerating and deaccelerating to accommodate for this, the kind of like the initiation point. Let's get rid of that by doing this. So I hit spacebar to stop the animation from playing. I can hit in my timeline, if I hit V and then I hit vector, it will interpolate this just as like one continuous thing, not a curve of an animation, but one continuous spin. And then render animation. Boom! There you go. Rendered 48 frames in no time at all. So now that we have those 48 frames as PNGs with an alpha channel in a folder that we can access, let's combine them all into an animated GIF. So we're going to go to Photoshop, download it if you haven't, and we don't have to open our document. We can literally just open up those 1080 by 1080 pixel images that we just created. So go to File, go to Open, then you can see here it is because I've already navigated to this. So just navigate to your correct folder where your images are. Click on your first image. So again, you need to make sure that these are in the essentially the order in which they are rendered, so chronologically. So 1 to 48, and I have that. And then this may look different if you're on a Mac, but you just need to click the first image, and then you need to find where it says image sequence. Click that. Mac, I think it might have more options, and you have to click on more options, but you want to just make sure it's clicked, image sequence is selected, and then open. Then frame rate 24, right? Yep, that's what we set up in Blender. Cool, thanks. But just make sure it is that if it isn't by default at 24. And then OK. And so I'm hoping that this opens up just like this for you, where you have a video group that has all of your images in your image sequence combined, and then it's rotating at 24 frames per second. Beautiful. So let's add some stuff maybe on top and some stuff behind. So we have a video group. In our layers menu or layers panel, let's add something below it. So I'm going to click right here to add a new layer. And you see it did something a little weird. Look where my layer is. It starts at the end of my video. So I think what happened is I'm going to hit Command or Control Z to go back. I want to put my playhead back to the beginning. And that happened because I played my animation. So it will add a layer where your playhead is. So you can just click on the playhead and scroll it back, scrub it back. And then now I can add a layer. What I also want to point out, this is in my timeline panel, which is at the bottom. I can zoom in and out. Check this out. The layer I just added is way too long, and that would extend my entire animation, my animated GIF, longer than I need it to be because I essentially have blankness here. So you want to come to that layer, hover over the end of it, see what happens. My arrow changes, my cursor changes, and just drag that thing so it matches. And you can see right here now that what do they call it? The end of the work area also adjusted. So now it's great. It will all be the same time. I can't words. So now I want this to be a layer below my animation. So I'm going to just drag this in my layers panel below my video group. And I want this to be a solid color. Again, this is sort of new for y'all in Photoshop, but I'm showing you right now. So you have a transparent and empty layer. If you go to Edit and then Fill, so Edit, Fill with that layer selected, and we just select Color. You can select any old color. Don't be too precious about this because I'll show you how you can change it in a second. And a color. But let's say we wanted this to be like something else. It's not quite what we want. Double click your layer, and then you have this whole panel of options, and you can mess with it. You can add a gradient, but let's just do right here this color overlay. So now I can see live what happens when I change the colors. So this is super duper exciting, right? Wow, cool. I love that. Great. So we have a color. Let's add a text. In Photoshop, when you hit the text key, which is right here, text, it was already selected, the text tool, and you click and drag, you start to make a text, and it will automatically generate a text layer for you. So you don't have to make a new layer first. And then these are words. You can add a text in. In Photoshop, it's really nice. If you hover over this little icon right here, then you can just scrub your text to a bigger size. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Photoshoppers, people. And let's make it white. And then that's it. For all, that's all I want to do right now. So then, look what happened. You need to make sure we scroll that or scrub that back too. Okay? And then you can hit play. And this is just gorgeous. So here we go. Let's export this as a GIF, and then we're done. So File, Save As. What are you doing? Save on your computer. No. Haha, tricked you. You definitely want to save your project. You definitely want to save it, right? It's important that you save. But when you're as a PSD file. But here we go. We want to just also save this as a GIF, which is a specific path. So File, Export, Save for Web Legacy, And then this menu will pop up, and it'll show us a preview of our animated GIF in just a second. So here it is. It's 2 megabytes, which is sort of big, but I dig that. I can actually make it bigger. By default, at least on my computer, it has a little bit of lossy, which essentially like sucks a little bit of the fidelity out of the image to make it more compact. So I can take that all the way to 0. And you see it right here. Now my image is 3.5 megabytes. Again, like small in some senses and large in others. But then I can also really degrade the image. You'll see it in a second in the preview, right? Weird stuff happening if you bump the lossy up high. So maybe you're really into the artifacts that are created in the process of lossiness. But I'm going to go 0 for here. And then don't worry, this isn't cropped. I can right here zoom out, and you can see that's my whole entire image. And then other important things, you want the looping options right here. Let me dip out of the way. You want those to be set to forever. And then, yeah, this is all great. We want it 1080 by 1080, and then save. You can hit done, but you'll be disappointed because you'll have to come back and open up this menu again to actually export it as a GIF. So save. Make sure you know where you're saving it. Boom. I do. Making the path right now. I'm going to call it, come on, friend, test GIF. You don't need to be part of this process. And then the computer will think, and it'll save out. And then now you have an animated GIF that is something that I'm not going to show you. You guys get it. It's something that you can include in your presentation, in your project, in your life. You can share it with all your friends on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you share things. Quick bonus for those of you that stuck around, I just want to show you how you can use some of the cool gradient tools with this dope thing that you just made. So let's say we get rid of the background and we add our own fresh background in here. So I'm just going to do it on another layer below the layer that had my PNG with the transparency and then my text. You know, I kind of actually I just want to do this. I want to show you how you can just like move this layer to the top so that you don't have to worry about it getting in the way of your text. So if you have this selected, you can see it's red right here. I can click here, I can drag it up to that layer, then I can lock that layer, and then I can adjust the visibility. Essentially, with it locked, it won't get in my way anymore, and then I can edit my text. Cool. So this is, you know, we're familiar with Illustrator. We've been jamming with this jam for a while. So with my bottom layer selected, I'm going to hit M on my keyboard for the rectangle tool. I'm going to hover and wait for my smart guides to say, hey, this is the corner. And then drag, hold shift to keep it into the square till I hit an edge. Now I have this thing in the background. It's the same color as my text. That's why I can't see it. But let's mess with the gradient. Let's mess with this look. I want to do freeform gradient with this object. And what I'm going to do with this one is actually essentially recreate my lights in a way. So I knew I had a orange light here, so I can double click on this and hit my eyedropper and come find that orange. And then, you know, I can move this around as I see fit. Down here, I had this pink light, so I can double click here, click on the eyedropper. You can't see it dropped off the screen, but at the pink light, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. This one, let's make it blue. Eyedropper. Boom. And then the top one, you know, I don't know, green. I mean, we can make it whatever, but that's kind of fun. And we can move these around. I could also just delete this. So, did it delete it? Yes. Yeah. So, lots that we can do in this, and I hope that is exciting for you that stuck around. Okay, that's all I have. This is the second end of the tutorial. Bye-bye.